Hello everybody. It's been a while. I'm back to streaming again. Hope you had a good holiday. Mine was pretty great. So I believe it was, I'm trying to think of where I left off. It's been so long. Been a few days. I think where I had left off was I was working on provisioning. And so we're going to continue with that and see how far we get going. So we had created this API, which I'm going to actually rename that API. What did we do? Let me see. We added... Looks like this was package lock, package JSON, React. Was this really what we did? I'm trying to think of what it is that we worked on. I know these have to do with the updates that were done to the SharePoint framework that I was working on. What I find a little odd is, let's restart that. I don't know when I checked in the changes for the API. Look at comparison tool. What is this? Oh, this is provisioning. This is the wrong, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let's close everything so I don't get confused. Let's start over again. Yeah, we're working on this. We could see if there's any extensions need to be updated. I don't think there is. And here's the changes. Yeah, this looks more like it. So what we were working on was scenario where we can automatically provision lists and columns from the schema. In our scenario here, we have two. One is going to be a note, the other one's going to be a lookup, and the lookup was just going to give us the list name, which was FAQ topics. And so what we need to work on is the provisioning portion of it. So first we check if the list exists. If it doesn't exist, we create a list, and then we ensure fields exist. I believe that's create field XML using create field XML function. Okay. The only caveat here is if it's a lookup, we need to get the list, which we do here. Fonts list. And then we create the field. Okay, so it looks like everything should work. And since this is a one-time thing, I think I'm gonna leave it like that. Initially, what I was thinking we should do is we should create a map method, and the map method would then, or not a map method rather, but a map. And then the map would make it easier to find the ID of the list that we're going to work with. But I think that's a bit of overkill for what I want to do. We definitely need to check what level of permission is required for a person to be able to deploy that. That setting. I believe I've done that before. Let me see if I remember. It was under I'm gonna go back on my documentation. Okay. So we need to find if the user has access to manage lists. And it looks like we can do that by oops, I didn't mean to do that. Function to function check if user has access to manage lists. And it returns a boolean. So export check user permissions per correct the boolean, try get SP, current user, correct. Login name, correct. Why is this giving us an error? Current user is because I'm missing something on PMP config. Let's go look. So on PMP config, we're gonna need websites fields. I think we probably need site users. So import add PMP sp slash site users. Did I get rid of the error? Yeah, okay, good. So we got rid of the error. Oh no, we still have it there. So site. Okay. Okay, that did get rid of the error. I wonder if I don't have to put web. Does that bring the error back? No. All right, so all right, current user login name. Const as permission. Let's do this. Await sp.web dot as permission. And we're going to use the current user dot login name. Okay, no, it looks like we have to get the user permissions first. So we have the current user, const user permissions. User effective permissions. And that's would be effective permissions, current user login name. That's correct. And then the has permission will use the effective permissions, and managed list permission is permission kind managed list. Permission kind comes from security in PNP. And all right, so let's go back to what we were doing. All right, so return Manhattan. Yep, that's correct. And we're gonna add a catch here. Error. All right. So this is effectively gonna do is gonna use the SP object Obtain the current user, get the effective permissions, and then check if they can manage lists, and if they can do so, gonna return a boolean. And obviously if it has an error, it's gonna throw an error back. So this is important because we need to figure out if they can even run the the provisioning script, which we're gonna be creating next. We can save this as well. And I said that we were gonna rename this API to provisioning API. Instead of post, it's gonna be called provisioning API. Okay, so now that we have that, we need to create our function that handles the provisioning, and that leverages our app list schema. Now the question becomes, here we have, obviously something is wrong. We have an error. And the errors obviously occurring here because the list does not exist. What list are we trying to get? We'll find out. Headers, payload. The list we're trying to get is FAQ list. Well, obviously that list does not exist. And where is it trying to get the FAQ list? It will get the FAQ list. Are we in edit mode? No, we're not in edit mode. Now we're in edit mode, but let's republish. Where would be a good place to check for this? A good place to check for this would be inside of our FAQ element. So our FAQ element is this one. Is it not? Yeah, FAQ Webpart. This one right here. So in this one, we have default layout, but I'm trying to figure out where our errors occurring. Let's go to default layout. This one right here. And here's our hook that uses our FAQ items. So it's failing here. Obviously, trying to think of what would be the best approach. You have to think of the best approach to tell the user there's no. I think it's gonna be best to be done here. Because default layout, this loads the placeholder. Let's do this. So I think that we need to add a configuration setting here. Edit configuration is not going to work, obviously. So this needs to be hidden. And so does this. PQ uses paint to configure the web part. Default layout, the PQ web part. I think it needs to be in here. We need to add a field down here in the bottom. Description field label. We need to add a property pane. Oh my goodness. Pane. Checkbox. I'm basically trying to build a checkbox because I need a boolean. I need a way to be able to tell the user, hey, this is the first time this has been run. Or I need a way to tell the system this is the first time this has been added, and there's none of the things that are typically provisioned for this are set. And if that's the case, then we can go ahead and ask the user to provision it if they have the correct permission. So we need to open up, it's called my strings, and move this to the side. Pretty pane description, edit configuration button label, provisioned artifacts, and this is gonna be a boolean, and there should be right here yep, this. Now here labels, strings, X is not a property. Yep. Be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. So there's no text in this. Target property is a string. Party pane checkbox. Let's get rid of this and let's see what we have. So we do have a text, but this is gonna be string. There, that fixes that. Check false. There we go. And now if I save this, save this, save this. Is it running? Oh boy, I don't even have my system running. Start. I believe it's start. We can close this. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get that going. Get the solution started. And then we'll be able to see if that, and then if this is checked false, then this edit configuration should not be visible. What is this false coming from though? This dark theme is open. This false is coming from where? But I'm not sure. Basically what I'm trying to say is I want to be able to hide that button for edit the configuration if that box is checked, is false. How can I get the value of the property pane checkbox? I'm gonna think of where this false is coming from. Oh, it's just false is set by default. We need to figure out this. I need to figure out how I can hide this button. So I'm gonna have to add a property to this component. And the property is going to be is provisioned, and it's going to be a boolean, and it's provisioned. I'm gonna set it to here. Private is provisioned, gonna be by default false. And then we need a function. Set configuration. Let's call this private set provisioned. And actually, let's not call it set provision. Let's call it toggle provisioned. And what it's gonna, it's gonna just take the opposite of it. This dot is provisioned. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna set this provision to the opposite. So if it's true, it's gonna set it to false. If it's false, it's gonna set it to true. Which the reality is it's always gonna set it to true. Let's just change that to just say true. Toggle provisioned. All right, and then the way that we're gonna do this is provisioned is gonna be used here. If it is provisioned, question mark. This, otherwise empty array, parentheses. But if it is provisioned, we're gonna move this yeah, this whole thing gets moved into our array like so. And then on the checkbox, there should be a property to toggle it. On change toggle provision. Does it even have a non-change? Oh, hold on. Let's go. I hate to go pilot this to do things that it might not even have. Disabled, no, we want to leave that alone. Let's get rid of that. We don't need to do that. Is it running yet? Question is I'm not gonna be able to see that until let me add a terminal. Have clean. We have to rebuild it. Have clean bundle build. I thought it was bundle. Under production. No. What was it? Package solution bundle. Have bundle. Package solution, I guess, takes care of it. Okay, so package solution. No manifests were found. Of course not. Have clean. Have build, I believe it is. Yeah, there we go. After have clean, have build. And then after build, we do package solution. And that should work. Good, awesome. So now we go get our package from in here. Reveal in File Explorer. Go to the app catalog. Replace it. It should say localhost. That our app part. Yep, it's running from localhost. Deploy. Okay, now that that is deployed, we can refresh this. And we should be able to see our checkbox. Okay, cool. Now, I think what we need to do is this. It needs to change this dot. What is it called? Is provision. That way, hopefully, let me republish this. It should technically be false. Let me open the terminal again. So this one. Edit. Add the web part. Okay. I guess my biggest question is how do we because when I check it, what happens? It turns off because, oh, that was weird. That shouldn't work. Oh crap. Let me go here. This is gonna go away. Huh. Okay, well the good thing is that the button's not working. The button's not showing. We only have disabled and ARIA label. I don't understand. I don't quite. I guess let's just leave it like this. The next thing that we need to do now that we have the ability to tell whether something has been deployed or not is we have to go to default layout and say, not default layout, but this web part thing. I know that sounded very professional. FAQ web part. Oh no, FAQ web part. part, this one right here, is to determine. We actually need to go to this Webpart props. And here we're gonna add is provisioned. And we're not gonna make it optional. We're gonna need to pass that. And then here, obviously, we have an error because we haven't put it on there. Is provisioned. Okay. And now in this Webpart thing, we're gonna be able to use is provision. Okay. And if it is provisioned, yeah, we have to check if it's not provisioned. Let's just do this. Is provisioned. Question. If it is not, artifacts. No. If it is provisioned, then we need to do something. Otherwise, do something else. And so if it is provisioned, we're going to go ahead and render the default layout. Let's move that up here. But if it's not provisioned, we're just going to say, going to add a div that says, please provision a server. Yep, let's just test this part. We refresh it. Okay, we have an error before this. Why? The cube of web part. You can close this. This is what we're looking for, which is this right here. And we're hitting the React suspense, but I'm wondering why. Load from configs. Where is this being used? Is it just being passed? It is just being passed. If it is provisioned, is it because it's true? Let's find a couple of things out. Let's go do some inspecting. We can close the console. Let's go to components. And let's go here. Well, back FAQ web part. Okay, but it's hard to message. FAQ web part is configured. Where is it? Is it in here? Configuration? Description. Is configured is not there. I think what I need to do is I need to rebuild it again and redeploy it. Add a terminal. Clean. Build. And then package solution. Okay, so now we have that packaged. And we're just gonna drop this file in here, place it. And then we just deploy it. Now we refresh. here. Come on, give me a break. There we go. Pick your web part. User display name. The props are still not showing up. This one should have a is provision is set to false. Why is it rendering? Question becomes, if I move this and this is checked. Let me turn that off and then republish. Edit the page. Oh, what is this? Someone deleted the SPFx web part. Why am I seeing that? That is disabled. Let's see. FAQ web part. This provision is false. The checkbox is turned off. But for some reason, the error is still occurring. Because in my network, I'm still trying to retrieve the list. FAQ items. Switching FAQ items error. Okay. But why is it even trying to retrieve? Oh, is it because it really shouldn't be doing that? That's what's weird. If it's provisioned, perhaps what I need to do, because the fallback load from config being passed into there. If I'm just trying to figure out why it's even pulling that. Shouldn't be. These calls shouldn't even be happening. I shouldn't even be getting to here. I go to FAQ web part. This provision is false. Maybe this is the problem. I'm really at a loss because this provision is false. It should not be rendering. I think what I need to do is switch this outside of the error boundary and then put this outside the error boundary, like so. And what I'm not understanding is why scripts part. Here. How did we get a breakpoint somewhere? Oh, okay. So it was an issue where I needed to restart the environment. It was erroring out. That's why now it says please provision necessary artifacts. And I believe I could actually put it back the way I had it, and it should still work. Like that, I think. Awesome. Oh, shoot. This is weird. Let me inspect it. Empty cache. No errors. Good. So now, because we have this, we can now use our placeholder. And our placeholder is going to, and instead of this div, we're going to use placeholder. Placeholder. And how do we use our placeholder in default layout? Move that over. This right here. You can just placeholder, dismiss panel. Configure, please configure. No, this is going to say provisioning required. Now, the other thing that we need to check though is we need to not only check if they haven't been provisioned, we also need to check if the user even has the ability to be able to provision anything in the first place. And instead of provision artifacts, or not artifacts, but assets. And instead of dismiss panel, we need to create a hook that checks if they have permission or not. So let's go to our hooks section here. And we need to create a new hook. Do we have an initialization hook? Attachment hook. Here we go. Hooks. Hooks. Use canvas section with use Webpart store. How did this get in here? Anyway, we need to have a hook that retrieves our API to check if you are permissioned or not. And to do that, we need to look at the provisioning API. And inside the provisioning API, we need to check if the user has permissions. In order to do that, we need to get a URL. So export const check user permissions URL, and this is going to be a string. Okay, that, and then we're going to create a new file inside of hooks, and this new, let's create a new folder and call it permissions check. And then here we're going to create a new hook. It's going to be called use permission check. And this is going to be very similar to how we use these. Not that one. Use this right here. All right, so import use SWR. We're not going to use the keyed mutator because we're not mutating anything. We're just getting a value, true or false. Can this person do what they need, do what we need them to do? You should just return a Boolean field. We're not mutating that. If they don't have permission, tough luck. You're going to have to get an admin to add this web part for you. Yeah. I'm gonna just let AI do my hook for me. So what this is doing is it's the provisioning API use this check user permission, check user permission, check user permission URL. You can see those two were created. And what the SWR hook is basically doing is it's going to return the Boolean. Do they have permission or not? Okay. And now if we have that, now we can go back to our web part here. And then we can use the hook right here. Const equals use permission check. And we're going to use two properties from here, or three of them. Has permission, if it's loading, and if we got an error. All right. And then here, we're going to check first if it's loading. So we're going to use is permission loading. And if that is loading, loading. If it has permission, if the person has permission, then we're going to use this placeholder. Otherwise, insufficient permissions. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Okay. And then permission error. If permission error, return. Actually, we don't need to do a catch for the error, because for the error, we can use the place the catcher, which our catcher is the boundary. We don't need that. That's giving us an error because we have a hook. What does the hook say? Suspense. We gotta change this to false. Oh, what in the world? Oh, because I have to change this to undefined. Yeah, like that. That should fix that. Perfect. Look at that. Permission required. Please provision. Why does it say please? Oh, because I didn't put the right description. The correct description should be here. Let's go change that to please click the button below to provision the required assets for the FAQ web part. Perfect. Look at that. And then I think we should pick a different button, like the different icon. Let's go to Fluent UI. React. And let's go look at styles. Iconography. We're gonna look for something that has to do with provision. Nothing that does provision. What would be a cool icon to use to oh, this one looks cool. Let's try to use this one. See what this one looks. So instead of settings, we can do that. And that'll look cool, I think. That looks cool. And now when they click on the provision assets, right now what it's gonna do is just gonna open the panel, which we don't want that to happen. Oh, never mind, it's not even doing that because it's saying dismiss panel. What does dismiss panel do? Looks like dismiss panel comes from the main web part here. What does dismiss panel do? Dismiss panel does this here. We need to create a method that provisions the assets. we need to create a script that does that. And so we need to create the script that does that, and it takes this schema to create our lists. Okay. We need a function that does that. I'm trying to visualize what I need for it to do what I need it to do. And this loading shouldn't show up like this. It should be just to render loader. Ooh, that looks ugly. Render loader. If config if layout no. So we should do I'll work on that later. Right now, the most important thing is trying to get the provisioning of the assets done. And so to get the provisioning of the assets done, we need to create a function that does all of our provisioning sections. Obviously, we've already checked the permissions. So the first thing that we need to do is check if the list exists. And if the list exists, we don't create it. If it doesn't exist, we create it. So let's create our script that does that. We need to you could technically create it here. Oh, we also need to be able to toggle. Not just this provision, but we also need to have that toggle. We need to get this. Toggle provision, this thing right here. Toggle provisioned is something that just a function that does returns nothing. And we need to go to props. Not those props, the other prop, these right here. Toggle provisioned, perfect. And then here, okay. Save all. And now we need to be able to get this into a function. And to do that, We need to get this schema somewhere. This schema we might just have to create it in here. So right here at the bottom, export cons provision Webpart assets. Actually, function to provision FAQ. Yep, that's correct. And doesn't return anything. No. We want to be able to bring in the you need to be able to bring this schema from here. But how do I bring that in from there? I would like to get into the habit of being able to, I guess what I ultimately want to do is, once I'm done with this, I want to create a template that anybody could follow, and you can just literally use the template to create any others that you want. And obviously it would be nice if you could just generate a file like this and it'll automatically create your artifacts by any generation of a JSON file. But how can I import? Let me ask here. Actually, let's not use Claude. Claude gets a little too crazy for me. Yeah, this, and we're not building, we're just asking. Ask. How can I import? We can close this, we can close that, app, list, schema, JSON to be used by provisioning. API, yes. Option 2, require statement. List schema. Okay. So let's do this. Bring this up here. Is it under assets? No, it's not under assets. Where is this? FAQ Webpart. Assets, API assets. FAQ Webpart. API assets, app list schema. Couldn't I have just done this? Huh. What is here? Assets, app list schema. Get rid of the JSON. Okay, import all as app list schema, and then we're gonna create an interface for it. I believe I thought I had an interface for it already. Doesn't matter. So this is our schema. Let's hide this because we won't need that anymore. And then we're gonna go to app props. I believe I had already created something like this. Yeah, it's called eyelist schema. Missing the following properties: title, base template type. What? Base template type. Column provider, title, description. What do I have in here? Title, description, base template type, content type enabled, enable versioning fields. What is it complaining about? I have everything it needs. Column provider type, fields, type display name. I am not understanding what the issue is here. Missing the following properties: title, it's there. Base template type. Oh wait, base template, it's there. There, and there. I'm just gonna do this as unknown, and then as eyelist schema, and then app list schema. App list schema. What does it bring me? Oh, okay, so we can use that. Okay, perfect. So we have this. All right, so now, first of all, we're gonna check if the lists exist. So the lists are obviously these. This is actually pretty correct. On list schema, app list schema dot. Because it's not an array, it's just an. We have this and we have that. This really should be an array. So we need to change this to an array and then bring this inside the array. Hold on. Because we need to be able to iterate to them. And right now it's just like this, which is not ideal. We need to be able to iterate through the lists. So we need to be able to create the lists. So obviously that's a problem. This isn't going to work the way that AI was trying to write it for me. So, and that's not going to work either. We need to be able to create an array of objects. I think I have an idea how to do that. We need to do this. And then like this. Then I need to get rid of this object, like so. And then just do an object with this information in it. move this into this object. Why is this? And then we can get rid of this. Minimize that, minimize that. Get rid of that. Maybe I need to do it this way. Maybe it needs to be done that way. Now, the only problem is that this isn't accurate anymore. We need to create a new type. And it's going to be JSON to TS. There we go, like that. Root object. And we have the field, which we already technically have that. We're going to call this column provider type. We can get rid of this. And then the root object would be the list schema. We can get rid of this. And then export type equal. And now where we had originally had AI, right? Good work. List schema. Oh man. List schema. Because it needs to be an array of objects. And so we need to be able to create this to be an array of objects. Web. How was this originally? Let's go back and go to here. Get rid of that. And let's look at the original view. This one. Why is it not showing me the changes? I need to. It needs to be an object, obviously, but. And then the object is going to have lists. And then have the array. I wonder. Paint it down. Move that up. Is that gonna work? Now. On. Nope, didn't mean to do that. JSON to TS. So the first thing is export type, and then the root object, and then we can get rid of this and these two interfaces, and it's going to be list schema. Yeah, and then the root object is going to be provisioning. I'm going to call it provisioning object. And then this is going to have to be brought in as a provisioning object. Get rid of the schema. Now this should have lists. List schema dot title, correct? Read list title, and then list schema dot fields. Ensure field exists. What does ensure field exists require? Where is this? Hold on. Ensure field exists. List name. Okay, perfect. And the reason we're getting that yellow is because SP is not used at all. All right. So now we have our function that's going to provision all of our assets. Provision FAQ assets. And so we can now go to the web part. Nope, not that one. This one. And we can have a function. Here we need to add toggle provisioned. And here we can add a function called provision web part assets. And the function that we're going to use is, this is not going to work. Provision FAQ assets. We're going to await that. We don't need to make this a callback, I don't think. Let's change this. Provision assets equals. Yeah, it's going to be an async function. Correct. And we're going to have a try catch. Error. And then toggle provisioned. And we're going to throw an error. An error occurs. And then this is going to be called by this. If this works, I am going to be very surprised. It's not in my nature to have things work the first time. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but anyway, let's go here and duplicate this because we need to check if the assets actually do get provisioned or not. Let's go to contents. Oh, we have the list here. Let me get rid of it. Delete. Do we have any of the columns? Let's go to columns. Base. Do you have any custom columns? Or custom? Just the typical ones that come from the site. All right, let's go see what happens. So contents. We are in contents. So if I click on provision assets, it should create my list. Obviously, we need to have a way to tell people like, hey, this is in the middle of doing what you asked it to do. Let's refresh this. I don't see anything being created. I told you it wasn't going to work. Now read properties of undefined. All right. So this is where it's erroring out. So let's go to this. Let's open up the provisioning API because it is breaking. It is breaking here. So let's click on provisioning assets. And it's not even loading. Let's empty cache and refresh it. Get rid of that toolbox. It doesn't even get to the function at all. Provision FAQ assets. we're getting an error in this line right here, provisioning assets. But the crazy thing is provision Webpart assets is supposed to be running this. So I can get there, but then it crashes immediately. Why? Provisioning assets, it goes here, and this is supposed to run provision Webpart assets runs this, and this is supposed to run this, which comes from the API, which in turn should run this, but it's not. Let's go here. Play. It doesn't hit it. It just goes and breaks. But what is the error again? Go to network. Console. I don't know what it could be. We'll have to figure that one out. It's a little weird that it's doing that. When I click on it, it gets to this. Oh, wait. Okay, wait a minute. Applet schema. FAQ columns list to create. What? Let's run that again. Provisioning assets. Go into the function. Here we go. Applet schema. List to create. Huh. That's interesting. There is no list to create. There's only a list. And then columns. This is weird. Lists to create. That brings up an array. Huh. Applet schema dot list. Applet schema data. Let's put it in our watch. Applet schema is a module that has the columns and the lists. Okay, so first of all, that's not even remotely close to what we would expect that object to look like. So my best guess is that this provisioning object is incorrect. Import all as applet schema data. What is this being? What is this getting us? Nothing. Let's refresh it. I'm really wondering when that conversion is happening. Applet schema is a module. And it's saying not available. Okay. Yeah, so the issue is that because the applet schema, when I go to provision assets, I go into the function. Right here's the problem. App list schema is completely different. So it's an object that has an array of lists. And I would think that it would work that way, but it's not. And obviously, setting it to unknown is a problem. What is the error? List schema array. I wonder if I just see if this can fix it. Huh. What is this saying? I'm just curious what Copilot does with this. Nothing good, of course. The only thing I can think of is export const app list schema data. Is that? And this needs to be changed to a TS file. So let's call that, instead of a JSON, yes. And now assets, and then get rid of these braces. Seriously? What is the problem? No default export. Just a basic file with an object. Let's do this. Provisioning object. I wonder if this will work. It looks like it did. Okay, get rid of this. And now like that. Let's try this. Insufficient permissions. That's weird. That's not correct. Provision required. All right. So now if I provision it, take off that breakpoint. Here's my list. The problem is that it didn't change. It didn't toggle the change. If I click here, this isn't set. But I am gonna leave that now for now. The thing I am curious about though, real quick, that I'll check is the list I go to settings, does not have the lookup field. That's not good. So something errored out. Create field XML. What was the error? It looks like we had an error over here. Column cannot enforce relationship behavior. A site column cannot enforce relationship behavior. Oh, that's true. It cannot do that. Just think about it. You can't enforce a behavior that happens on the list on a column. So we would need, in order for this to work correctly, we would have to, I guess I could fix it real quick. Let's go in here and go to this one right here. Relationship behavior. Get rid of this property. And now let's go to lists. Delete the list. Delete the list. And then go to site settings, site columns, and delete this. Gotta delete this column. Delete the column. And finally, the last thing that we need to do is go to the recycle bin and there we go, recycle bin, and get rid of everything there. Come on. All right. No. Delete. Refresh. Go back to site contents because I didn't mean to restore anything. Delete. Delete this. Site settings, columns. Answer shouldn't be back because I don't think that you can restore a site column. Contents, recycle bin, empty it. Yes. Perfect. All right, so now we can go to contents here. Empty cache, hard reload. And we can close that and provision our assets. An asset property of undefined setting is provisioned. That is an issue with this other part. This right here. You know that we have to put this right here. This dot toggle provision. There we go. That's what I did wrong. I didn't put that on there. Oops. All right, so let's go delete it again. We refresh it. The only thing that I do have a question about is the column get created. Let's go to site columns. It did, but did it get created correctly? It did. Look at that. FAQ topics and the ID. The only thing is that obviously because it's a site column, you cannot change it. The question becomes, can we update a field in the list to do that? And I think that you can. So let's go ahead and delete this. First of all, let's go to our Webpart here. Go to contents. And let's delete both lists. And now that the both lists are deleted, wanted to check something real quick. Yeah, I just want to check that my audio is okay. All right, so we deleted that. We can go to site settings, site columns. Luckily, we only have 2. So we can delete this one. And we can delete this one. And now this has been deleted. The lists have been deleted. Let's go to contents again and empty the recycle bin. Yes. Perfect. Now we can refresh this. And this should work now. We should see that this is going to be true once the provisioning is complete. Fingers crossed, obviously. Like contents. LibreQ list. Settings. Oh, the field's not there though. What's the problem? No access. What? Gosh, this is so annoying. It didn't create the field. I mean, it created the field as a side column, but it's not adding it to the list. Oh, I forgot to do that part. Jeez. Obviously, I forgot to do that part. I can't believe I dropped the ball like that. Okay. Go to the settings. Delete it. And then go to recycle bin. Nope. Delete. And then go to contents, settings, and then go to columns. Get rid of these columns. Parent ID. And we delete this column as well. FAQ. Correct. And delete. All right, so now we need to do one more thing, which is add the fields to the list after they've been created. Yeah. So to add the fields to the list is we have to go back in here. And then after the field has been created, add the field to the list. Hi, got a chat. Hi, chatter. So you've been working a while on HTML and CSS before Christmas, now working on JavaScript. Yeah, that's cool. I would recommend probably trying to use TypeScript. I think you'll like that more because TypeScript is gonna prevent you from creating a lot of bugs in your code. Have you? I'm not getting the logic of what you're typing. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad that that's working that way. Yeah, but what I would recommend is that you use TypeScript. TypeScript is definitely going to help you out in the long run because if you use TypeScript, it's going to prevent you from having a lot of bugs in your code before you even get to when you're using it on your solution. And it, makes you just build types like this so that way you can have IntelliSense. If you'll notice here, I can just go to push dot and it tells me all of the fields already. So it prevents me from, making the mistake of accidentally trying to write title with a lowercase t. It keeps me from making that mistake. So I would definitely recommend that you do that as an option. You don't have to, totally optional if you want to do that. So now we have to add a field to list. But if you have any questions, I'm here. If you want to ask me anything, I'm happy to help. Let's see, to add the field, make a project first with Vanilla.js or go into TS. I would probably go with TS, only because you're going to have a lot of easier of time developing. If you make a project and you use Vanilla.js, unfortunately you'd lose the IntelliSense, and it is prone to more errors unless you're like super good at memorizing what you wrote. Because the problem then comes if you don't, like, for instance, just even look at this right here. For example, I have the schema, which is going to have all these properties. And then am I really going to be able to remember all these? You're probably going to have to keep on going back and forth and then copying and pasting it. Yeah, definitely for a large scale project, if you're using just basic, like you're just creating a very simple project, you want to probably stick to just vanilla JavaScript, get really good at it. And when you move to a bigger project, use TypeScript. This is kind of small, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that projects can easily be having that snowball effect. In essence, your project grows exponentially as you're building it. And so if you are if you don't let me see if I can explain this correctly. When you start a project, you initially think this is very simple. I'm just gonna be doing a hello world kind of scenario. But as you progress building your project, unfortunately, the inevitable happens where your project will exponentially grow. And just so that you cover your bases and you build it to withstand the time, so to speak, I would probably do TypeScript, just because it's inevitable that your project is going to grow as you're learning more and more. If you're doing, okay, so one of the things that I talked to you last time about was concepts. If your goal is just to learn a concept, then go ahead and work with vanilla JavaScript. If you're just trying to learn the differences between variables, if you're just trying to understand how logic works, if you're trying to understand how functions work, if you're trying to understand how objects, JSON, if you're just understanding the concepts and you're just writing very, very basic vanilla JavaScript commands, then thumbs up. Keep it simple, use vanilla JavaScript. And that's just going to help you learn the concepts. If your objective is to build an actual solution and learn as you're building that solution, then my recommendation would be to use TypeScript. And you can install it locally on your project and then leverage it. And another thing that you can also remember is you can use them interchangeably. Okay, you can use vanilla JavaScript in a TypeScript file. You're not necessarily tied to just one or the other. You can even alternate in a very small project. If you're just learning it, you can do so as well. But in my scenario, I tend to say, you know what? I hate to do this, but I just like to use analogies and everything that I say. It's like a tree, right? If you have a tree and it starts growing crooked, once it's really solidly a bark around that tree, good luck trying to straighten it out, right? And so the analogy applies here. If you're starting to learn programming and you want to learn and be a very well structured developer, you probably want to start in that manner, in creating TypeScript as your fundamental for your programming. So that's what I would recommend. But there's nothing wrong with if you're going to create just a basic project and you're just going to use vanilla JavaScript. There's nothing wrong with that either, especially when you're just trying to learn the concepts, which I believe that's what you're trying to do. I think the last time that I had you on stream chatting with me, I showed you 10 stack start. Is that what you're using, or you're just basically used Node to create your project? I just wondered what you did. So anyway, well, I'll leave you with that question. Did you use 10 stack start, or did you just use Node and start a project using Node? On my solution here, I need to add the ability to add a field to a list. And so that's my next thing that I need to do, is create a function that adds a field to list. So here, function, let's make sure we kind of stay uniform, to add field to list. And it doesn't return anything. Yeah. So add field to list, we're going to give it the list name, and we're going to provide the object. Okay. And we're going to use the try catch. All right. So here, we need to do the same thing that we ensure field exists. Ensure field exists. Wait, couldn't we just do this here? I think I have a better idea than to do this. Let's comment this out for now. I'm gonna comment that out. And here, we're gonna do this. Await sp.web.list get by title list schema title fields. Is it fields? Fields. What does this ensure field exists to? But maybe I already have that. It just creates it to the root web. But now we need to add it to our list. So fields dot create field as XML and field ensure field exists, returns true. Does return true. Okay. But technically we have that here, so I need to do this. Get rid of it here. Go to ensure field exists. And here List name. Where's list name used? Fields. Okay. So we gotta get rid of this list name. Create field as XML. Field.xml. But before we do that, we need to check if field dot field object. If field object is a lookup, then what did I change the last time? Add relationship behavior for lookup fields when adding to a list. We take the original field object and we're going to no backend for now, just vanilla JS with React. Yeah, but did you use a, I'm going back to the chatter, Juvie Sans. Did you use what did you use to create your scaffolding for your project? Did you use create React app? Did you use Tantex star? Did you use Vue? What did you use for that? I'm just curious. As a list by taking field object and adding relationship behavior. Perfect, like that. And I want it to be cascade. So lookup field XML. What is this? Lookup field XML. And let's go with this. Wait, what did I do? Yeah. Lookup field XML. Else. And just use the basic XML. Okay. This should work. So what I'm basically saying here is when I go through the process of ensuring that the field exists, I'm not only just creating the field in the root web, I'm also checking, and once I'm adding it to the list, I'm checking if it's a lookup. If it's a lookup, I'm going to add this relationship behavior because now I can, because I'm adding it to a list. And this should work. So now if I go back here, I refresh it, I shouldn't get any errors when I run provision assets. Oh, we have a problem. You're not enforced because it's not indexed. Oh, yeah. The problem is that indexed. Where is it? Lookup parent ID. Indexed is false. This needs to be set to true. Man. I was so close. Lower routine. All right, let's go back to contents. Contents. And delete our to lists. And after this, I'm going to be done for tonight. The lists are gone. We can delete this column. And then we can delete this column. Okay. Now we got to go to the recycle bin under contents. Go to the recycle bin. Empty it. Perfect. Now we refresh it. We shouldn't get any errors now. Clear it. Let's put this up. Clear things, clear, clear, clear. And then provision. So far, no errors. But, oh, there he is. There it is, the error. Target list lookup field is not valid. Target list lookup field is not valid. Target list of the lookup field is not valid. I think I know what it is. I know the problem. Because we need to do, we can get rid of this function that we were creating now that I know that it's working. All right. Manual setup Vite for, yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, what I really like about Vite is that you won't have what I have, which is where it reloads the entire project and then you're gonna have to start over again. So yeah, good choice. Vite is a really great choice. So yeah, that's cool. And you can use vanilla JavaScript with that, and you can actually alternate. And you alternate between TypeScript and JavaScript in Vite. To be answered yes. Yep. You can use both TypeScript and JavaScript. So there you go. If you plan to use TypeScript, obviously, then you would have to install the TypeScript dependencies, but make sure that you're saving them as dev. Do not save them as, you know, part of your regular dependencies, because it's only for development purposes. What that means is that when your project ultimately makes it to production, you don't want the package for TypeScript to be part of the bundle, because it's going to make it massive, your project. You want to keep things, minimize what you're deploying when you're deploying your application. So make sure to always include the save dev flag when you're installing it. Okay. And the only difference is that when you want to use TypeScript, just put .ts as the extension for your file. If you want to use JavaScript, then put .js, and you can always use them interchangeably. You know, when you're building your application inside of Vite. I hope that helps. So you can kind of dip your toe a little bit into TypeScript if you want. Totally optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. But I recommend it. If you do, you won't regret it. The problem I'm having is because my list the problem is that the list is messed up. The reason being is because in the list name, I need to get the list. And that was in here. So we need to create here. Oh, where is it? If it is a lookup, ensure field list. Once list, list info. The field type equals lookup. Do I have this anywhere else? I wonder if I have this anywhere else. I have this 2 times. I have it up here as well. Pick a field, list as lookup to set the list ID. So technically, this needs to be moved into here. And we can get rid of this. Yeah. But this is gonna throw up. Yeah, it's just gonna throw up. I do need to keep this here. But what I need is to create the list object. Const list list info. User fields exist. Okay, I'll bite. Let's do that. List. And then we need to do this. We don't need to retrieve it again. Actually, we need to put this here. And then list, and get rid of it from here, because we have it here. And then here, what is it? Is it called list? List ID. This should fix it. Yeah, that should fix our problem. And we're only looking it up one time, so we're good. Wait, we're adjusting field object already. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All right, let's try this. So when we go to contents, our list should be gone. Our columns should be gone. Oh no, they're not. Let's delete them. Delete. And then go to site settings, site columns. Let's get rid of them. Delete. Turn 80. Oh shoot, I meant to delete. Let me get rid of it. Delete. All right. Now this should work. We refresh the page. Clear our network tab. Go to provision assets. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, I know why. List does not exist. Value list empty. This is so annoying. Okay, let's track it back. We're creating the list. Then we're going through the fields. It created both of our lists. But it did not create the columns in the list. Yeah. The list does not exist. List, and it has an empty name. Why? Because we create the lists, and then it creates the fields. But the first list that it should create is topics, and fields would be empty. Then why am I getting that error? And if I go to columns, Like columns. And there's no columns created. How about that? Neither one of the columns was created, which leads me to believe that this is the problem. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave that to fix it in our next meeting. For tonight, I think that's going to cover it. I'm just going to delete them and we'll start off clean the next time. We go to columns, they weren't created because it's breaking before they create. But anyway, we'll give that a break for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Peace.